G'day and welcome to episode 189 of Trent365. Today is Thursday, the 7th of June. Now, I spoke a couple of days ago in episode 186, I think it was, about practical versus polite when it comes to customer service. Today, I want to talk about professional versus practical, again, when it comes to customer service, in this case, in terms of hotel restaurants. Because I'm staying in a pretty fancy hotel here in Abu Dhabi, and this morning at breakfast, I sort of saw a great example of where I think professional stands in the way of being practical when it comes to customer service. Anyone that's stayed in a fancy hotel or eaten in a fancy restaurant knows that, we tend to say, serve from the left, clear from the right. There is, of course, some contention over whether that's the way it years ago originally should be done. But regardless, that's kind of the industry standard in most fancy hotels and restaurants. You serve from the left, you clear from the right. And today at breakfast, the staff wanted to clear from the right. Unfortunately, there was basically sort of a table up against my table was up against the corner of a bit of a bollard. And so for her to be able to clear my plates from the right, she almost had to kind of reach across in front of me as I was eating. And conversely, of course, had she gone to the left, would have been no problem at all. She could have cleared the plate. I wouldn't have even known she was there. And that's where I think professional gets in the way of being practical. Practically speaking, nobody, I don't think, really cares if you were to go to the other side of the table, clear the plate. To me, the best service you ever get is the service you kind of didn't even know you had when it comes to restaurant dining in particular. And I can tell you for a fact that this kind of logic does work with fancy hotel type people, because it's how I got my first general manager's job. I had this same conversation with the managing director, who was an ex-Four Seasons guy, and we were talking about being a single person sitting in a restaurant and how they insist on serving from the left, clearing from the right. And that isn't always the most practical way to do it, and it becomes intrusive just because that's the standard. So, all that said, don't let professional service standards stand in the way of being practical, because if you do, it ends up kind of not being that professional after all. That's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. You can subscribe on iTunes, Google Play Store, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, or just follow along on the social streams. And I'll be back again tomorrow. See ya.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.